Hello, everyone. Welcome to Gen Z Capitalist. Today, I want to talk about in 2024 how I made money, swing trade, and this is this is not me trying to teach anybody because the market has really gone up a lot, and most people in the stock market has made money this year. I think it would be very hard not to make money in the stock market. So I'm not trying to pretend, I'm kind of, sort of master in stock picking. I just want to go through my thought process. And there were some significant moments that I was doubting myself and how I was able to use strategy-based reasoning to get out of those situations. So the three tickers that made me a lot of money this year, the first is Nvidia, which is not a surprise to a lot of people. The second is actually Tesla recently, and the third is Bitcoin. And I will go through each of them one by one. Obviously, Nvidia had a huge rally earlier this year, and I was about like halfway through a rally I entered. Obviously, by now, it's gone up a lot. But I owned Nvidia GPUs before. I understand like what a special technology it is. I'm an engineer, right? I'm not just an investor, I'm an engineer. In fact, I think in 21st century, it's such an advantage for engineers or technical people to get into investing because, I think traditional finance people, they look at everything as like numbers. You know, I think it works in some ways, but the problem with technical analysis is that you don't really understand what's happening under the surface, right? You can see correlation, you can try to find pattern, but of course, all of the patterns will be broken because the future is new, right? We have new technologies that, you know, improve our lives in different ways. And there's no way you can just by looking at the numbers to understand how valuable a company is. For example, um, do people even understand what CUDA is? What percentage of NVIDIA investors actually have a good understanding of what CUDA is? Anyway, Nvidia is not a surprise anymore. I think the stock's going to do well, tremendously well into the future. Um, for AI, I want to share a few things. In my opinion, I think the LM or kind of the AI we call today is a huge pattern matcher. That's the way I look at it. You know, our humans, we our eyes, we have different senses, right? Those are kind of like sensors on a robot. I'm not saying humans are robots, but we kind of design robots similar to how humans work. So it's not like we're like robots. It's not like it's more like robots are like human, you know. And we gather all of this data around us, and we're trying to make sense of it. So that's why I think I could be wrong, right? I can be wrong. I think AI, I don't see how it can help us innovate at the moment, but it is really good at aggregating data and doing things on a large scale. And to be honest, um, sometimes just the mental capacity are limiting our ability to innovate. So, for example, if a new innovation takes 20 different technologies to combine together, maybe three breakthroughs from biotech and four breakthroughs from computer science and two breakthroughs from quantum mechanics, right? Humans have very limited mental capacity. So, um, if you're a biologist, if you're a professional biologist, your most of your time, you are spent on specific biology, and you might never learn something about a different discipline. So I think that when the crossover, and if we have some AI that has a huge mental capacity, I think even just by synthesizing those data, it can help us innovate. But the other thing is, right now, if the AI and robot can just do whatever we can do to the same level, I think that's good enough too. The robots and the AI don't have to be smarter than us. If they're just as smart and they can free human to do other things, I think that would be a wonderful thing. People say AI is a bubble. Maybe the price is, the price is gonna go up gradually, in the long term it's going to go up, but I don't know what's going to happen in the short term. Maybe it is overpriced or whatnot. But I think it is very difficult to deny that this is going to be a useful technology. And I use AI tools in my lives, and they're already making my lives better. So I think in the future, it takes time for different models to, kind of automate some of the process. But I definitely believe the AI story in the long term. Tesla is another interesting story because, um, you know, for the first half of the year, it is not a popular choice. I even remember, so I made a big entry around 185. It is not the trough. It is not the lowest point. I think I don't even know how low it went. I think it went to like 150 or something. But I think the Tesla, the autopilot, is so much more advanced than any other company. They have so much data all over the world. People talk about Waymo in different cities, right? Like Tesla is operating in Southeast Asia. Tesla can work in Africa. Tesla can work in Europe. And it's just a much more comprehensive model. And, in addition to that, I think Tesla's battery and solar panels, those are amazing technologies. And honestly, I think Tesla cars are really a huge preparation or can be a huge asset for the Optimus robots as well, because robots needs batteries, and all of the batteries technology Tesla has developed can be used in other products as well. But yeah, Tesla was dropping, like for month and quarters after quarter, month after month earlier this year. Honestly, I just had a feeling I was buying the whole time, but I really felt about the low point. I just think in the long term, it's such a promising company. Not just the Tesla cars, but also the robots, the solar panel, the batteries. So it is a long-term hold. Obviously, Elon, I think unexpectedly, right now has a really good connection relationship with President Trump. I think obviously that's going to help his business too. But ultimately, you want to be legit, right? Like the company has value because you're providing these products and services. Yeah. The last thing is Bitcoin. Right now it's at an all-time high. I was just dollar cost averaging this entire year. And my birthday, July 4th, which I mentioned in a prior video, Bitcoin just crashed. Man, especially for a Bitcoiner, it's really hard on your birthday. I remember I was going to like a July 4th um, fireworks show in Seattle. And, the Bitcoin just drops to like 53,000 or something. Well, I thought, I guess it's a gift. I guess Bitcoin's on sale on my birthday. So I bought a lot that day, and I just kept buying. Um, Bitcoin is mostly the Bitcoin price is mostly demand side function, right? And there are two main ways there are like additional demand for Bitcoin. First is that just naturally the fiat currency gets deflated. So let's assume nobody else believes in Bitcoin anymore. Like just the same people believe in Bitcoin today. As fiat currency, gets debased, Bitcoin is still going to go up in price. But I think the more significant factor is kind of this the S curve, it's kind of like adoption of technology and the network effect is when more and more people understand it, there's going to be, I believe there's going to be exponential growth, just usefulness of the technology. If you can find one more person who are willing to take Bitcoin, I'm certainly willing to do it. I'm willing to do a lot of work, actually do consulting $100 an hour for different things. I'm very happily getting paid in Bitcoin. So we need to find more people like that, and so we can create an economy. And the thing about Bitcoin is that it's not controlled by anyone. That's the beautiful thing about it. You know, Senator Ted Cruz, I know he's a controversial figure. I do not agree with him on 100% of the issue. Well, I do believe he is the most knowledgeable senator on Bitcoin. And, he said like he loves Bitcoin because he cannot control it. I really think that's the American spirit, right? Um, when you can trust the decentralized network, you don't even know who's behind all of these mining machines or validators, but you know, you don't have to trust any particular person. You just assume the entire network will act for its best interest and your money's protected. You know, the problem with other fiat currency, I use US dollar as an example because it's actually the strongest fiat currency, right? Right now, it is still the strongest by a mile. And when I use US dollar as an example, some people like have like whataboutism. They say, oh, like Chinese yuan or Japanese yen, euro, they're British pound. whatever, they're even worse. That's not the point, right? Because Americans, this is the richest country and has the higher standard of living. You shouldn't compare your life with other people. Like, who cares if other people suffer? You want your lives to be good. But obviously, the deficit is kind of like forced inflation because every year the government just are forced to print out the deficit. Um, and ultimately, here's the thing: when you real eventually people realized trusting no one with their money is better than trusting someone with their money. Um, yeah, but the key point is, I think trading for me, I trade things has high volatility because if it has zero, if it's low volatility, you're not even trading anything. And I hold things I want to hold in the long term, right? Obviously, it's not going to work if Nvidia, Tesla, and Bitcoin actually drop significantly, and I'll be hurt, but it's okay. That's my strategy, right? I have one portfolio that's like super aggressive. I have my long-term portfolio that I barely even take a look, right? It's just there. So if my aggressive portfolio really tanks, I'm okay as well. I'm still protected. Actually, I'm thinking about I don't want to just give up my portfolio. It's actually doing tremendously well. I think I can, I might even be able to. Um, I think there'll be a lot of interest on what I do in that portfolio. So I'm thinking about ways to present that in future videos. Principle is easy to understand, but the implementation is hard, right? We all hear Warren Buffett says, be fearful when others are greedy and be greedy when others are fearful. We all understand the cliche, but how many people can actually turn that into action? Even me, even as much as I understand all of these things, when Bitcoin really crashes from 70 something to like 53, it's not, I had doubt is it going to crash more, but you have to act out of principles, right? Uh, Before this year, I think disciplines in trading also takes time to build up, especially when you make mistakes. When you don't follow your strategy, and something happens that you really regret. And, this year I have been much more disciplined on my strategy, even if I think I might be missing something or missing some profits, putting some money on the table, or I'm not taking enough risk or taking too much risk at a certain time. I have a strategy. So I, I'm not. It's definitely paid content. I'm not gonna give you my strategy for free, and it's been very successful so far. Uh, but I'll encourage you to develop a strategy and stick with it. Like if you are trading based on just you know, I think it feels like it's very hard to be consistent, and it's hard to measure output as well because every day you're kind of like tasked with making this decision. Whereas I kind of developed a strategy, I back tested it, and then I just stick with it. And the thing about strategy is that if you think about game theory, your strategy only works if other people don't understand your strategy. Like if I give my strategy away and it's really outperforming everybody, I would just keep it a secret, right? Like I can't tell anybody. Um, because if there's not a perfect strategy. Strategy, you gotta think about what the market is doing and try to take advantage out of people's weakness, either fear or greed or mistiming, or you have a clearer vision. I encourage people to think about what is your edge, right? Because in trading, I believe in long buy and hold as well. How can you develop an edge over other people? And by the way, I don't day trade, right? It's not like I'm putting multiple orders in a day, and more like swing trade. Maybe like before work or after work, I might put in an order or two, right? I might do like one trade per week or per month, right? It's not like I'm making 10 orders a day. But yeah, that's my journey. So, um, my portfolio has been tremendously outperforming S&P 500 this year, which, even S&P 500 and Nasdaq has gone up a lot. So that's my journey on how the trading went for the past year. I'm still hopeful that the tickers I talked about will do well, but obviously, right now the prices are high, which I believe, they can be justified or not. But regardless, I'll keep buying. I will share another fun story about the market timing in the next video and how I really became a believer that I'm so ignorant about the market.